Air India plane crash. How does DNA identify victims without parents? Forensics explained. The aftermath of the devastating Air India plane crash in Ahmedabad has left the country reeling, not just in grief but in search of answers. At least 241 people on board the Dreamliner 787 flight have been declared dead, but a new challenge haunts the rescue and recovery teams: the identification of the charred bodies, many of which are burned beyond recognition. With faces melted and identities erased, the only thread connecting the dead to the living now is hidden in their DNA. In such catastrophic accidents, whether it's a plane crash, train derailment, or massive fire, traditional methods of identification like facial features, documents, or personal belongings often fall short. Here, science steps in where sight fails. DNA testing becomes not just a forensic tool, but a last hope for grieving families. But how does this process unfold, especially when close family members are also missing? And every human being carries within their body a unique genetic code, DNA, or deoxyribonucleic acid, a biological fingerprint stored in nearly every cell. This invisible code, extracted even from tiny remains like a fragment of bone or strand of hair, can provide almost certain confirmation of identity when matched with a relative's DNA. Modern laboratories use a technique called polymerase chain reaction (PCR) to amplify even trace amounts of DNA. This means that even when the body is unrecognizable and tissues are largely destroyed, remnants, whether in the form of blood, bones, teeth, or even burnt tissue, can be used to extract the genetic material required for matching. And when available, the DNA of a victim's biological parents provides the most accurate identification. The match is almost conclusive, with a 99.99% accuracy rate. In the Ahmedabad flight crash, authorities are urging immediate relatives to come forward to provide samples so the process can begin without delay. But what happens when the parents themselves are among the deceased or simply unavailable? And in such cases, the search for identity stretches further across the family tree. Siblings, for instance, share roughly 50% of their DNA and are often the next best option. Known as a sibling test, this comparison can establish identity with moderate certainty. If even siblings are not available, investigators may turn to other blood relatives such as paternal uncles, maternal uncles, or even grandparents. Male victims can sometimes be identified using a chromosome DNA, which is passed down from father to son, while both male and female victims carry mitochondrial DNA, inherited exclusively from the mother. However, the farther one moves from immediate family, the more the accuracy drops. Cousins, for instance, share much less DNA, and a match through them is rarely conclusive unless supported by other data. And in recent years, DNA databases have become increasingly comprehensive, thanks in part to voluntary submissions for ancestry tracking and law enforcement use. In some rare cases, familial DNA already stored in government or private databases can be used to find partial matches. For example, if a family member has been part of a criminal database or has taken a genetic ancestry test, that data might provide the missing link. And for identification, samples are collected from both the deceased and the potential relative. From the deceased, any biological material, blood, hair, muscle, bone, can serve as a source. From the family, cheek swabs or blood samples are standard. In the lab, scientists analyze genetic markers, and specialized software calculates how closely the profiles match. The results are expressed as a percentage likelihood of relationship. Swipe left for next video. However, if no suitable relatives are found, or if the family DNA isn't present in any known database, the process stalls, and the body may remain unnamed. The Ahmedabad administration has now begun the arduous task of DNA sampling, urging families of missing passengers to come forward. Forensic teams are working around the clock, aware that delays can mean added trauma for families waiting to perform last rites. Latest blogs.